Yeah.
I was going more for a Zen vibe.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Because the game's about bonsai.
Mm-hmm.
How's the game
going?
Yeah.
It's good. I'm working on building the states of the game.
I think what a lot of people don't realize about making games is that it's an artistic and collaborative process. So at Virginia Tech Gaming Project, we not only welcome coders, but we also highly encourage artists, musicians, and creative people to join.
I'm Chris Olsen. I'm the president of the gaming project at Virginia Tech. So the club's general activities focus around, we have weekly meetings where you either learn game programming or game design. We teach the basics of Unity as well as some more high-level topics as well, usually in some sort of lecture format or like an activity to do. But the club has not been around for that long, just a few years now, like quick maths, like 7 years at this point. And it's pretty much stayed relatively the same. It started out as a way for people to talk about game design and game programming and maybe meet up to make games. And it has grown not very much into a place where people can get together, make games, talk about making games. So anyone that's interested in game design or game programming should join the club. There aren't any particularly difficult commitments you have to make. It's really just a club about meeting with other people that are interested in the same sort of things that you are. So anyone that has even a passing interest in maybe doing some game design or maybe programming some games should really show up and meet other people like them. Skills-wise, we don't really require any sort of knowledge to join the club. Joining the club is as simple as showing up to the meetings or the game jams. However, what we use are, we generally teach Unity skills, which is C# programming and the game engine Unity. However, we allow people to participate in the game jams with whatever engines or tools they want to use. We just like that as a common baseline for everyone. We do like it if people have, say, artistic skills, whether that's drawing, painting, digital art, music. We heavily encourage people that show up with those skills to stay, because for the game jams, they're immensely helpful.
I think this club is really catered toward creative people, and that could be either on the technical aspect with creating interesting game mechanics, but also on the artistic side as well, by creating art, animations, and music that really helps the game be immersive and tell a story.
Like Chris, I'm of the opinion that, to use his exact words really, that video games are an art form. But if you are looking for what art contributes, like the classic means of art, like all of these things, all of art ties into what makes a good game. I think that art in any form is part of what makes video games an artistic design. Like they're integral to making something that's an experience, that's something that a player can get something out of. I mean, that's what art fundamentally is, right? It's an experience.
A game really doesn't exist quite as well without music and art. It creates like half of the experience that you play.
Yeah, because when you think back on a game, what you remember the most is kind of how it looked and like how it felt from the music. And it's not just about the gameplay, it's also about just the user experience. And like those are your fond memories. So the art's like really, really important for a game.
Can't imagine playing a game with just like squares.
I know, and you can just go back and listen to just soundtracks from games, like Legend of Zelda. You know, whenever you're studying,
I love
you
doing
just
that.
The other thing our club does are game jams. We do 2 48-hour hackathons, one in the spring, one in the fall.
So for a game jam, you have 48 hours to build a game, and right at the beginning of the game jam, you get a theme. So for example, one of the recent ones was projection, and you can interpret it however you want. And then for the remaining 48 hours, we break into groups and actually build a minimum viable product.
So I actually designed a game based off of projection, which was the theme of the game jam last fall. And it was basically a 2-player platformer where one player would project obstacles onto the other player's platform, And the idea was to stop your player from beating you in kind of like a foot race. So you would always try to project the obstacles onto the other player's field to try to be a hindrance to them.
In our second game jam, we made a game called Mips Quest, and in that one we did a lot more level design.
Yeah, like we like mapped out and did like entire levels instead of just like parts of one. And we did like a lot of the art for it, like we drew it and like added it in.
That was Bonsai, wasn't it? The theme was, what does home mean to you, if I remember right? Something sappy like that. And so myself and Vince got together and made a game about cutting bonsai trees.
We decided to make a game about being at home trying to care for your bonsai tree, but then being distracted by a whole bunch of noises, and they eventually like shake your camera so that when you're trying to cut the bonsai, it's really hard to do it correctly. Hence the name Bonsai.
To tell me what my favorite part is, I'd have to say just the whole club in general.
Definitely like the game jams, but also like it's kind of relaxed when you go to the meetings. Like everybody's so nice, and it's just like you can go there and just like learn about games like casually.
Yeah, I like learning about like the different parts of the video game industry and like listening to like different lessons and hearing what type of games other people like to play, because like I haven't met a lot of people who play different video games than I do, so it's nice hearing people talk about different ones. And we learned about card games that one time too.
Yeah, that was really neat. And we got to see like a whole game that somebody had made on their own, which is like really involved.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick something, I would say a lot of the more specific theoretical aspects of game design is something I've really enjoyed. I remember last year we had a meeting on boss fights, and that was something I really enjoyed learning about, like learning like what made a good boss fight. Other things like a lot of the technical aspects such as animation and stuff like that, really cool things like that you can learn how to do in video games. I mean, from my 2 years in the club, I've learned way more than I could ever just look up online. I've learned a lot about the theory behind video games, a lot of stuff like what goes into making a good video game, what makes an enjoyable video game. I've also learned a lot of the technical aspects. This club really helped me get my feet off the ground with Unity, the C# language, and just gave me the direction to move in with game design. It showed me how to get started and really how to make a good game from what I had in my head, like how to formulate a good game.
Well, we've learned how to use Unity, because before we came to tech, we...
Never heard of it.
No. Never.
And like I learned a lot about like what goes on like behind the scenes for the games, like in some of the meetings that aren't technical, when they talk about like the different components and like years with the music, and just like so much goes into building a game that you don't think about, but like the art and the music is like really important for the overall experience.
I think that this club is super inspiring for anyone, whether you're interested in video games or not, right? There's something to be learned no matter what you do, but I think this club is really a way to diversify your mind, to really open up to the world and see different forms of art, different people's opinions on a medium as popular as video games. And I think enlightening yourself towards what video games truly are, on both coding back end and the theoretical front end, is a really enlightening experience. I think it's one of the most rewarding things I've done at Tech.